Good afternoon. Could you
Uh,
please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your nonprofit origin story?
My name's Shannon Du Plessis. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. The nonprofit origin story for Krushan Foundation started in 2010. My husband, Kruger, is from South Africa, and he took me to see the African penguins for the first time. And so we're standing at Boulder's Beach, which is one of the African penguin colonies, and I'm going, oh, they're so cute. Oh, I love them. I love them. Wanted to take them home as pets, which you can't do. And he had a completely different reaction. He stood there going, like, where have all the penguins gone? It's kind of like Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean,
Yeah,
where he stands there and he's like, why is the rum gone? It's a similar thing. He's like, why are the penguins gone?
I love that.
And so, because there weren't as many as he was used to growing up there. And so we thought the seed was sort of planted then, even though we weren't exactly fully conscious of it. But then, if you fast forward about a decade when we were moving into our third act and had the time to devote to it, and then we're sort of sitting at home during the great toilet paper crisis of COVID, trying to figure out what we should do. When we had all this time, we said, let's do it. Let's start Krushan Foundation and help the African penguins because that's something that we need to do. We feel close to them. We want to do something for them. And I mean, it's a heartfelt mission for us. I've been back to South Africa 5 times and loved the country, loved the penguins. And so, interestingly, when we were there in 2010, that was the year that African penguins were listed as an endangered species. This week, to make Halloween all the more scary, they've been uplisted to critically endangered,
Oh my
which was
goodness.
kind of, it was a gut punch. It really
Yeah.
was, even though we've been expecting it since sometime in the summer because we knew there'd been a new study done. But it's tough to have that actually become the reality that the next step along the line is extinction.
Yeah.
And to be just right up, bumping up against extinction, I was upset and didn't take the news well. But then my sort of stubborn streak got in. I'm like, no, this will not stand. And all our partners that we work with are feeling the same way, and we're not stopping. None of us are stopping.
That's amazing. And what kind of services does the Krushan Foundation provide?
It looks like we have partners on the ground that we visit regularly in South Africa, and it what it looks like is with us being so close to them, we know what they need when they need it and are able to get the funds to them, assuming we've raised enough funds at that point in time. But so they need artificial nests because their natural habitats have been destroyed. They need food, they need rehabilitation. A lot of the baby penguins will either get lost from their parents, or sadly, sometimes their parents will go out to fish. And because their fishing area is not as protected as it needs to be, although we're working on that, and the government is going to need to take some more action. So there's this big plan to get them to do that. The parents might not come back to the chicks, and so
Mm,
there's that. They can be attacked by predators, and they one of our partners also takes the eggs and will incubate eggs that are found, and out come cute little baby penguins later. And the eggs get found because this past winter, especially, which would have been our summer, and it was truly, they call it the Cape of Storms, and it truly was. They had these unprecedented storms, and so there were all kinds of people out there gathering up penguins that had washed away, gotten injured, the eggs that had been left. It's like the floods. I mean,
yeah.
we've seen the floods that happened in Valencia here just
They're wild.
recently, and it's horrible. And if you take that on a smaller level, and just look at a penguin colony, um, their homes got washed away. But luckily, they don't drive cars, but their whole area was just flattened and decimated by these winter storms. So there was a lot of damage, a lot of rebuilding there. Sometimes it's equipment that's needed. We provided two freezers to one of our partners because the electricity is run by the state throughout the whole of South Africa, and they're not really good at keeping the lights on. So what's good about it is you get a schedule every week when you're there that says here's when the electricity is going to go off, so you can plan for it. But when it's going to go off at 8 a.m. and come back maybe at 4 p.m. and you have to deal with
Yeah.
all those hours, then the fish that they need to store to feed the penguins is going to start defrosting and going bad. Yeah. And so what they needed a couple of freezers that could have dual power. So plug it in when the electricity's on, switch to gas power when the electricity's off. They were faced with losing the food that they need to feed the penguins that they are not only rehabilitating, but also the ones that won't really be able to go back into the wild because they can't survive that, but they stay there at the sanctuary, and they can still breed, and their babies end up being released into the wild, which is always good fun. It's quite something to see the penguins get released back into the wild.
That's amazing. It sounds like such fulfilling work. What's your favorite part of working in this nonprofit sector?
It's the people we work with, our partners. Absolutely. I mean, because everyone is so fired up about it and so committed to these little guys. And African penguins come up to about your knee. They're the third smallest penguin of the 18 species. And if you've ever held a chicken, which I don't know, everybody's held a chicken.
I actually have, but not everybody, I'm sure.
Well, if you've ever held a chicken, you've held an African penguin.
Okay.
Because they feel just like that. And it's because their feathers are waterproof. So they get out of the water and you think, oh, the bird's going to be all wet. And they are waterproof feathers. So they feel all completely dry when they come out of the water, and you can pick them up, and they can be kind of snuggly, but also that beak is dangerous. You have to be very careful to take steps to stay away from the beak.
That's so fun. I don't know very many people who have held a penguin before, so that puts you, I'm sure, in a unique crowd.
Yes.
Some of the challenges of this work, Shannon, like what do you struggle with as both a founder and boots on the ground person in the sector?
Well, of course, fundraising is a major biggie. And one of the reasons is we're trying to save a species that a lot of people don't even know exists, first of all. And then they exist in the global South, where there's not as much interest as I think there should be paid to the global South in general. And I mean, non-human fundraising is always going to be more difficult than fundraising for humans. So those are the sort of particular challenges. And then getting people to realize their value, because they contribute lots of money to the South African ecosystem because of the tourism of the people who want to go in and see the penguins. And they also create jobs because of the people who have to take care of them, the penguin rangers, our partners who work to help save them, the veterinarians, all of that. And so they're also a marine sentinel, which just means if you look at how they're doing, that indicates how that marine ecosystem over there is doing. And it's not good. It's just absolutely not. Mainly, it's climate change induced, but their fish supply is moving further away from them. And then there's commercial fishing that's going on, and the government's needing to work out a balance between letting the commercial fisheries still earn a living, but not decimating this population. The cool thing about the South African Constitution is that one of the ministers that's in charge of this has a constitutional responsibility and mandate to not let a species go extinct, which is just huge. I know, I wish we had that here. And so there's a lot of hope that something like that is going to be worked out. There'll be more meaningful shipping closures around where the African penguins nest in their breeding grounds. But I mean, to just be blunt, many of them are starving. So that's challenging.
I think there's so many wonderful nonprofit missions that this is partly why I love highlighting people like yourself who are doing incredible work that a lot of times, like, I didn't know there was African penguins. When you said 18 species, I'm like,
Mhm.
I had no idea, right? And so I think what's really cool is that nonprofit missions, like, they highlight, they shine a light on these like dark areas where most of us don't know, right? We just, it's not that we can't care, but we don't even know that this is something that needs care, that needs attention. And
Mhm.
so I think this kind of work is so critical.
Thanks. We think so
Yeah,
too.
I love it. And so how does peer support factor into your work? Like, where do you go to get extra help, information?
Some people that I've met on LinkedIn, particularly through the Nonprofit Hive, have been hugely helpful. Just being able to talk to other people because we are sort of by ourselves and we're not drawing salaries. We have no overhead really. And so it can be a bit lonely. And so the Nonprofit Hive, what it does is I get somebody to talk to at least once a week. I've made friends there. I have work colleagues there now, and then then our partners on the ground also. And you get these people together and these ideas together, and we can come up with some pretty neat solutions. And also when weeks like this sort of bolster each other back up, like, oh, it's not good news, but it sort of almost hardens our commitment and like, absolutely not. We've got a hashtag we're using called it's hashtag not by 2035 because 2035 is when they're projected to go extinct in the wild, which just means there won't be enough of them to breed enough to keep them the population going,
That's
which
wild.
is it's a sad thing to think about.
Absolutely.
Um,
And I've seen Catherine, which I'm going to bring her up just because you guys
sure,
met each other through
please.
the nonprofit hive, but I keep seeing her use the hashtag and the penguin photo in the background. I love it. And so bringing Catherine up, like, what have you gotten through being a member of the nonprofit hive?
Well, connecting with Catherine's huge because she's helping us with our fundraising. And we knew nothing about fundraising. We still don't know much about fundraising. Thank goodness she's working with us on that. And just her ideas are absolutely brilliant. And she's so creative. She loves animals. I mean, it's really a good match. And we're really great. We would never have met without the nonprofit hive. And we're making a lot of progress. It's sort of on the back end right now, what we're doing to grow subscribers. And also I'm working on a project, just more of an educational project to get the news out there to as many people as possible. And hey, this is going on.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is sad. And we all like, oh, we should adopt this puppy. I mean, there are animal lovers sort of everywhere about, oh, puppies. And I mean, I have a cute little dog. I love puppies. I love animals. And I mean, African penguins are animals. They are cute. Yes, they're in the wild and you can't bring them home and snuggle with them. And you wouldn't want to really because they need to be out in the wild. But there have to be people who care about animals and wildlife who, as our messaging gets out there more, will hopefully be motivated to help us do our work to help save these creatures. The organizations that we work with do a lot of hard work, and we've been there with them, feeding the penguins and for penguin releases and cleaning up after penguins. I mean, it's an act of love. That guano is highly pungent. I've got to tell you. So yeah, the things we'll do for the penguins.
It's not all cuddle and cute penguins, right? Like,
It
that's
is not.
it's
No.
not. It's not, but like you noted, key part of the ecosystem
Mhm,
in that area. And
mhm,
like so many crises in the world that nonprofits kind of focus in on, there's a huge climate change component to this as well. That, so you're talking about the storms and bigger storms and
mhm,
fish moving lanes and everything. So I think this is a critical part of that discussion around where we've taken the earth and what, as human beings, and what stewardship do we owe back to the environment itself. So I think this is a very cool campaign. I love the hashtag. I think that's
mhm,
so inspiring, and it can really inspire other people. So I'm really excited to see where you guys and Catherine take this. It's been wonderful to have you a member of this community. I love meeting founders because the
mhm.
inspiration behind it can I'm sure when you went on that like trip while you're visiting, whether family or whatever, I'm sure 10 years ago or however you wouldn't have gone.
Ooh, 14 now. Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
so cool. I love that about nonprofit founders and their stories are so critical.
Well, we're definitely niche.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you mentioned before to me the only nonprofit you believe that's focused in the US on this unique issue.
Yes, we're the only nonprofit in the US, as far as we know, that is focused solely on protecting the critically endangered African penguin. There are wildlife organizations that protect many different species, including some very large ones, as a matter of fact, who have African penguins on a very long list of other species. And that's fine. I mean, what's interesting about this work is there's no competition. There's no, don't donate to this place for penguins, donate to us. We'd love for you to donate to us, but if not us, somewhere, and we will work together. And we're thrilled when we have a win, any of us. So yeah, we think that because we're laser focused on the African penguins, and I mean that's all we do and all we focus on, it gives us a little bit of a unique advantage. We're not like some other organization that has so many different things that they look at. But of course, they also have millions of dollars and I don't know how many employees to be able to do that. And we couldn't do that if we wanted to.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I totally admire your mission. I admire your passion and energy for the subject because it's so critical. We need more change makers like you in the world, Shannon. I think it makes it a better place. How can people follow along with your journey?
we are on LinkedIn. We're at Krushan Foundation on LinkedIn and on Instagram. Our website is krushanfoundation.org.
Thank you so much, Shannon. You've been one of my advocates, so I am so thrilled to do this.
Hugely,
And
yes.
big thanks to you. And I can't wait to share your story.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you paying attention to our little foundation and to the penguins. It means a whole lot. I appreciate it.